here's where the quantum happens. Each one of those stories, like Bill told about the person who said, my mom hates me, I actually led that session in an event. And the person told me, my mom hates me and she wants me dead. She wants to kill me. 5 minutes later, she kind of like experience like you had, she gasped and said, oh my God, my mom loves me. I'm her favorite. So what happens next? By the time she gets back to her seat, there's a text from her mom. Oh, I love you. You're an amazing human. I just thought of you. I love you so much. You're great. Never before did that text come in. Somewhere that link gets broken of we hate each other to we love each other in the ether, in the quantum. Whenever you're connected to someone via your nervous system, which is an electromagnetic, hormonal, and chemical connection, it doesn't matter where they are in the world. When you change that connection, they feel it.
Bill and Liz, welcome to the show. Thank you for your time, generosity of time for coming on. And we're going to be discussing one of my favorite topics, which is the subconscious mind and the patterns which we're all running in the background, which control our everyday lives, in all areas of our everyday lives. And for most of us, we're unaware of what's happening. And this is where your work with Cognomovement is so incredibly profound for helping us reimagine what's possible for ourselves and become aware of these patterns that are controlling basically all of our responses to the world to a large part. So I would just like to start because I think it's important for people to understand some terms around the terminology. When we hear conscious and subconscious thrown out, I mean, people will assume they know what these terms mean. But Bill, I'll start with you. How do you think of when people say, so when I just said the subconscious mind is running things, how would you explain to a layperson what that phrase means and how it's important to understand the impacts on their life?
You know, the subconscious is really interchangeable with the term the nervous system. The two are synonymous. So the subconscious, being the nervous system, is that it creates a feeling. I've got a feeling. When you think about whatever, maybe you want to ask a person out. Maybe you want to ask for a raise. Maybe you want to have a better relationship with someone. All of those things, they'll produce a feeling. And our nervous system, what it does is it produces a feeling. And those, not only is your nervous system create a feeling, but it also helps to kick off certain chemicals like cortisol, the stress hormone, or whatever, or oxytocin, the falling in love chemical. But all of it happens through your nervous system. And the nervous system, it's like got a mind of its own. Your reactions. You never choose. No one ever chooses, I'm going to get angry today. I know what? I got up this morning. You know what? I'm going to get angry at Joe today. No, nobody voluntarily chooses anger. It's a reaction. It's a feeling. And it kicks off chemicals. So your subconscious is just that. It's this system, it's biological, that creates these feelings. And the important thing about this is that those feelings, as Liz Larson says, it creates a electric fence for your life. It's where you will not go beyond. I've got a feeling, and that's the limit. Now, that feeling could be either positive or negative. It's completely impacting your life. So getting control of that and processing what doesn't serve you or installing what does serve you is the difference in between poverty and being a billionaire, or having a joyous life and or being depressed, or you name it, being being overweight or being in shape. All of it is controlled by what you're feeling.
So on that point, so I'll take someone who's overweight and they've always had trouble with weight and keeping weight off. And they might have tried many different, like tried going to the gym, tried eating differently, but they can't achieve the goal, the desired weight. Where is it that you would say, and Liz, I'll throw this over to you, where is it that inability to lose the weight, and let's call it the programming, has come from? So this feeling that, with your work, what are some of the underlying things that you've seen? Is there commonalities that you've seen with people in certain fields that they all share? And what are those when it comes to this programming?
Well, this one, there's something really unique to Cognomovement, and weight and weight loss, and it's cravings. And talking about the subconscious, a craving is that thing that's driven by your subconscious. You have no idea why you are just overcome with a feeling of needing to eat a certain thing, but not only needing to eat it, but over consume it. And you know it's not good for you, and you know it's going to exacerbate your weight issue, but you can't stop doing it. It's a neural driver that seems to override your logical mind. So where does it come from? Oftentimes it comes from something great that happened. You know, a time in your life when you felt good, you felt nurtured, you felt comforted. You know, Bill tells a story about his little girl and her not feeling well, and she wouldn't eat. And what's the one thing you want, honey? Pancakes. Because pancakes are what they did together as dad and daughter on Sunday mornings, right? Something that makes me feel good. So interrupting that pattern is the thing to do to stop that neural driver, stop the body being driven to do that thing. Well, the body doesn't want to be interrupted with something that makes it feel good, right? So with our work, we actually let the body really enjoy it. All the submodalities, all those little pieces, what it smells like, what it tastes like, what it feels like, to have it, to enjoy it, to need it, to want it, while we use our work, which is a patented system of eye movement and physical movement that directly accesses that nervous system, directly accesses the mainframe of the subconscious. And when it does that, the nervous system all of a sudden sees the truth. Oh, there's this thing that I feel good, this memory, and there's this substance. And all of a sudden, it's like your nervous system wakes up from a dream and it's like, oh, I see the difference. And that is actually toxic and hurts me. Oh, and this all memory I think I'll keep. So in terms of, you know, weight management and food, these are things that we have to do in terms of addiction. Like, you know, you don't have to drink alcohol, but you do have to eat food. And it really is a thing that speaks to our nervous system in terms of comfort, nutrition, nourishment, all the way back to our very first moment on the planet, nursing, right? So what we do to address that is find out, what is the driver? What is the nervous system holding on to that is creating a reaction? The reaction is how you live in the physical world, right? The nervous system's going to take in information and it's going to decide, what do we do about this? Well, in the past, it was like, oh, let's eat a whole bag of Oreos. I don't know if Oreos are popular in Australia.
No Oreos, yeah.
Yeah.
We have Tim Tams. Sorry, I was just gonna, Australian audiences are like that.
Right. A normal nervous system might be like, ooh, an Oreo. I'll have one or two and I'll dip it in my tea. A nervous system that is in a fight or flight mode around that, unknowingly to the person, they're going to eat the whole bag and then suffer about it later. So for us, the session could be the urgency to eat that food. It could be the loving of it, or it could be the suffering after. And in any one of those states, you do the work to access the nervous system and rewrite the code. And in about 20 minutes, you don't want anything to do with that thing anymore at all. You're like, oh, gross. The system really sees it for what it actually is. Chick-fil-A or soda or Oreos or even nail biting, even down to something like a nervous nail biting. So I hope I answered your question. It was a long way around, but.
No, you did. Can I just surmise in the way that I heard it and just let me know if this is correct? Yeah. So in a lot of ways, and to speak to what Bill started off with, so we're operating from an emotion. So I've observed in myself that often it's a case of coming back to some form of homeostasis so I feel safe. And I'll give an example as to my pattern that I had a lot of trouble with. So I'm repeating things in my life in order to feel safe, because whatever that may be, a childhood trauma or an identity, no matter if it's good or bad for me, and then I'll be getting a reaction. So in my case, it's safety, and the reaction is, okay, now I feel safe, so I calm my nervous system. So is that sort of an overarching theme for people? Like it's that, okay. So do you know, there's a gentleman, I read his book called Mark Wolven, he wrote a book called It's Not Your Fault, to do with intergenerational trauma. And he looked at all the new research around all the, as you're well aware, all the trauma stored in your tissues from not only your own patterning from a young age, from your society and parents, but also their generation before them. And I love to hear this probably from both of you, but just my thing was always money. So I would, historically, my family have made money and they've also lost money, and it's been a thing in our family. And then I had repeated that so many times where I didn't have a problem necessarily making money, but I had a problem with holding on to said money. I'd either spend it or I'd be, oh, this is not enough, so I need to do this almost gambling behavior in terms of investment and then lose it. And I wasn't happy about that. So like, oh, great. But why was I doing that? Because I already had everything I needed. And if I was just sensible and I was patient because I knew I already had enough and I was living in an abundant way, it would have been a very different story. So that was, and then the question is, so I repeated this probably 3 or 4 times before I realized that there was a pattern. And then that's when I became very interested, when I'd already heard of Bruce Lipton and so on. And as I mentioned before we started, it's how I found your work. So I was becoming aware of, okay, there's something going on in my subconscious that I'm not aware of that these patterns keep reoccurring. And it's not just with money, it's with relationships, you name it. There's all kinds of things. But then I didn't know where to start because, okay, I have a pattern, there's something happening, but how do I even get to the core of this pattern? How do I start disentangling it? So I'd love to hear from both of you, but Bill, if you want to start, so how do you approach that when, say, if I came to you and said, oh God, I've just lost another huge sum of money, what the hell's going on? I'm aware of it, but I don't know how to look into it.
Gosh, this is, I know what Liz is thinking right now. She's like,
yeah, I could see her mind going.
Just like we're both of us are, no, we don't like our work. We love our work. This is a joy to work with somebody like you, that has something material, that this is really impacting your life. And if you play it forward, 50 years old, 60, 70, there's people who are playing out the exact same pattern that has run their entire life. And it also roots back, like you said, in their parents' life, right? Or beyond.
Great-grandparents in this case, many generations of trouble.
Many generations, yeah. So the great news is that you can eradicate this. You can stop the cycle. And it's so neat because this work, we're able to find the exact circuit. We talked about the nervous system. So how do we find the problem and then eradicate it, right? Change it in some way, shape, or form. And it's actually quite simple. And I'll start with a basic understanding that everywhere you look is a different part of your brain. For example, if I came on this show and I looked like this, and I was looking down, what might you think?
Well, that you don't want to be here and you're a bit depressed.
Exactly. And everybody knows this. Even a child knows, oh, they're sad, right? They're disconnected. We know this globally. Globally, everybody knows this. It turns out that it's actual neuroscience. When you look down, you disconnect from serotonin. You disconnect the oxytocin, these chemicals. You connect to the part of your brain and activate the part of your brain that is set up for sadness or connection to my physical body and the feelings in it. Now, on the opposite side of things, if you look up with your eyes, if you feel like you're going to cry and you don't want to cry, there's a little tip for everybody. You're giving a talk at a wedding, or you're giving a talk at a funeral and you don't want to cry. You just look up with your eyeballs, not your whole head, your eyeballs, and in about 45 seconds to a minute, tears stop. You're accessing a different part of your brain, this prefrontal cortex area predominantly. It's more complex than that, but it turns on different chemicals. It turns off other chemicals. So my point is that this pattern, if we take the next jump here, which is you have a generational long pattern of make it and lose it. Boom, bust. We talk about the boom and bust in the United States. So we can find that exact circuit where we look very, very closely at your eyes. And when you move your eyes, there'll be a place that the eyes get double vision, or the eyes start to shake, or it feels like it's pulling, or it goes way beyond just the location you're looking. It could be even the depth. It's within 2 feet away. So it'll be up and to the left at this exact location and 2 feet out. And when we connect that circuit, or disconnect the unresourceful circuit, all of a sudden, new ideas, whole new ideas. What the hell? When somebody would approach you, like, you made $1 million, and then somebody comes along and is like, hey, guess what? I got this new thing, and my God, it's going to take off. You got to get in. You got to get in. The round is closing. We're not going. The funding, if you get in now, you get the real low price. You're going to get a lot of shares in the company, and it's going to billionaire. I don't know, tens of billions. I'm not sure, but this thing's going to go. So anyway, what happens is that old circuit's like, activating, and you're ignoring. It makes you ignore things that you would ordinarily, be prudent. Like, wait a second here, hold on, let me investigate this for a minute. That type of thing. You'll see things that you hadn't seen before. You literally are taking in more information. When you continue to do the Cognomovement work, what happens is you go from very, very limited amount of data that you can process and connect the dots to what's called hyperconnectivity. We connect up different parts of the brain, and you have the most amazing insights. And it's basically mechanical. You're mechanically working the brain. So that's how it works. And maybe if you like, Liz can take a look at your eyes, and we can show you what does it look like. And this is just one little small sample of what we do. We utilize the entire body when we do a Cognomovement session. it's everything. I mean, we're using the ears, the eyes, the teeth, the tongue, even down to the toes. So it is the complete system, and because we use all of the human to help create the change, we get incredible changes fast. So
Yeah, can I just to finish that thought of yours, Bill? Is it right to say with these neural pathways when you're getting to do eye movement and so on, that they're so well worn that we're traveling at 100 miles down a highway, going past all these billboards, and we're not reading anything because we're just looking straight ahead. And then by doing this work, it opens our field of perception up away from this well-worn neural pathway. Is that that's a very big simplification, but
a perfect simplification. And to your point, this is not metaphorical. You will start seeing so many, literally, physically, you'll start noticing all kinds of things that you never noticed before with your eyes, with your ears, your perceptions. It's ridiculous, which is very much creates a new life in every respect.
Yeah. Thank you. Liz, I'd love to. Sorry, not to get a free session out of you both. Let's run through it, because I to my mind, I feel like I've worked a lot on this, but I'd be absolutely fascinated to see what you uncover.
Let's do it. I want to tell us, like, it's the super shortest story of somebody that we met this week, and just to kind of set it up for your audience, because I know that you said people are really interested in health and wellness, but also the spiritual and the consciousness aspect. So when Bill says that your eye position, your eyes will go directly to a very specific neural pattern in your brain, and it'll connect with a feeling in your body. And that will hold you in that position. Literally, you can't see anything else. So you're driving towards that thing that you've already done again and again, and your ancestors have done again and again, and you kind of know where it's going, but it feels familiar, so maybe you'll get it right this time. But that neural pattern literally keeps you blind to anything else. So your reality is this shrunken reality in that moment, right? Nothing else exists. So one of our practitioners, we were in an event in Southern California this weekend, and one of our practitioners brought in one of her clients to share her story. And this woman lives alone and had a dog that she was very, very close to, and the dog had passed. She was really grieving. And so she decided to get a job because she was bored. She wanted something to do, get her mind off of it. So she gets this job, and it's sales. It's business to business sales. And they have to go door to door and offer people. It's water systems. And she said she would go, and she just couldn't sell anything. She was at the bottom of the sales pile. Couldn't get out. And she thought, oh, I guess I'm just bad at sales. So she said, well, who's good at sales? She must be a very smart woman. She's like, who's good at sales? Let me ask them what they're doing. So she asks this woman, turns out to be one of our practitioners, who also is a salesperson and does both. And she says, well, I do this funny thing called Cognomovement, and I really work to make sure that my brain is open, my left and right hemisphere are balanced. I've got full activity in my brain. And so the gal says, okay, I'm down. I'll do it. So they're in the session, and as Bill said, that there are specific eye positions that kind of trigger a sensation, or vice versa. It's always sensation and eye position. That all of a sudden there's a neural pattern, and you see it all. You see what's stopping you. You see where to go. And she said, oh my God, every time I walk into a business, I'm looking for my dog. I'm looking for my dog. And she said, I'm so dissatisfied with the interaction. And of course, the person on the other side of the desk is feeling all of that too. But if you think about that, like, what sense does that make? There's no logic in it that when she goes into a business to sell water, she's looking for her dead dog, right? It doesn't make sense. But it's the kind of thing we hear all the time, like, oh, my nervous system is actually trying to repair my grief through this interaction, this sex interaction, right? The minute that she saw it, her nervous system saw it, like I said, it sees what the truth is, collapses that neural pattern. It realizes it's wasting energy. And she went from bottom of the pack to the top. She is their top salesman in lickety split, a very short time. But she said, that's amazing. But everything else in her life has changed as well. And of course, she's much happier. She was able to process the grief, get her body out of the suffering state it was in and into a joyful state. So I just wanted to share that with you and your audience, because what seems logical, that the reasoning around it, right? Like, I feel like I have enough, so I give it away. It's likely not it. It's likely something else that you can't even imagine. And if we try to guess, we'd probably get it wrong. So are you ready? We'll see what we can find. Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. We're geniuses at justifying our behavior post-event. So we'll absolutely find any explanation to, for the most irrational behaviors.
Well, and I think psychology has taught us that if we talk about it and we're using the same neural pattern we use to get into the problem to try to solve it, this just doesn't work most of the time. The thing that does work is the awareness. Okay, I'm aware I have a pattern. That awareness will start the chain for change. But what we do kind of hijacks that system and lets the system see it clearly all at once. So let's see if we can find where you're.
Yes.
So is this always on video? It's not on audio.
Well, that's always video so that people can watch on YouTube. Yeah, so if you're listening, please highly recommend obviously going over to YouTube. Otherwise, it's not going to make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with this. Tell me just 3 sentences about the last time you did this pattern where you gave money away. You earned the money.
Impatience, not enough. I almost want to say greed, but it's not as strong as greed, but I'll go with greed.
Okay. Impatience, not enough, and greed. Okay. So tell me the time before that you did that and give me 3 sentences. I went here, I changed this, I did that. Yeah.
So the last time I lost money and the same pattern. Okay. So I need to do this to feel safe. This is my chance at finally being financially free.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to say. I'm going back to my mind. What's the last?
That's okay. I got what I needed. That's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So we're already seeing your pattern really clearly. So I'm going to ask you to go back to your parents and just one time that they had money and they lost it. Just 2 sentences.
How they would think, how I perceived them to be thinking at the time.
Anything at all. I already saw it. You don't even need to tell me.
Wow.
Give me 2 sentences. They did this and that happened.
I just need to put more money into this and it will finally work. I'm not letting all of my hard work go unless I invest, unless I give it one last chance with all of the money.
I've got to put everything in. I got to give it one last chance.
Yeah, very much so. I want to say sunk cost fallacy with this particular instance. And I'm thinking.
Okay. All right. So every time that I asked you to think about that situation, then there were 4 different situations, 3 of your own and 1 of somebody else's. You looked up and to your right.
Yeah.
Were you aware?
I was about a second or third time, and I could see your face. I was paying more attention to the pattern in my eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I've had you dredge up 4 incidences. Where is your body active? Where does your body feel just active? It doesn't have to be pain or.
God, I feel tightness in my arms and my hands. So I feel this kind of constriction of they're not things I particularly want to remember fondly. I don't think fondly of. So there's anxiety that comes up.
Okay, so around this subject, your neural pattern lives in that tightness in your arms and your hands and that eye position up and to the right. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just move your eyes there now, up and to the right. Yeah. And just be gently aware of that constriction in your arms and your hands. So it's a little
crazy.
Yeah, a little farther to the right. There you go. I want you to hold yourself in it just for a second. Now take a big deep breath in, a really big one. And relax into those arms and hands. Just relax right into that discomfort. Good. And I want you to go to like the last incident where you ran this neural pattern just for a second. Yeah. And then the 3 before and your parents and your grandparents. Let that feeling build again. Notice the sensation in your arms and your hands. Take a big deep breath in. Dig a little deeper with your eyes and relax into those hands. Relax into them. Wiggle them a little. Gotcha. Okay. Now shake it off just for a second. Bring your eyes out of that. Just rest for a second. So there's this in the beginning, as we're just beginning. We've already done some work, already working to access it. We found where it is. And now we're asking your body to be able to just relax into it. Allow it to fully be there, right? So resting in between allows a little tiny integration period. All right. So I just want you to go back to the most recent one again, the most recent incident. All right. And just notice what's different. I'm not looking for better at this point. Just notice what's different.
There's more of a softness in my hands I can already feel.
Good. So just one more. Let that story play out fully. Just notice your body getting active. Let it have its full opinion about that situation. Take a big deep breath in through your nose and just relax into the whole thing. Let your whole body relax. Good. And what I'm going to ask you to do is roll your eyes up across the ceiling and over to the other side to about the equal spot, right about there. Right about there. And then play out that scenario one more time. Just notice how your body feels about it on this side. Well, there's a smile. Tell me what happened.
That is crazy. If you're listening and I just thought a wave of relaxation go through my arms and my hands.
Yeah.
And I almost heard I did hear subconsciously or consciously because I heard it it's saying that that's okay. That's done.
That's done. Okay.
Well, you've done it. So what's the point in now like fretting over something that's you did at that time as a different person?
Yeah. Okay. So you want to go just a little bit more?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
Please.
Move your eyes back to that right side. What I'm going to ask you to do is run your eyes from your shoulder up to your eyebrow, that eye peak in your eyebrow. Yeah, right about there. So up and down on that side. Yeah, slow for me, just real slow. And if you have something, you can even follow it, or follow the wall, just real slow, left and right. And I just want you to run for 35 seconds, let's say. Your parents, your grandparents, and your habit or pattern of earning money. You can do the money thing, you can get it in, but then you lose it. Just let your body feel the whole thing, tell the whole story, all the way down and all the way back up. And just notice if your eyes are sore on this side or don't really want to go there. I'm going to need you to push them way down on that side. They don't want to go there, way down. There you go. Breathe. Roll them all the way back down. Just let the story play out. Let the tension in your arms and hands be there as much as it wants to be. Okay, one more. And then on the next big deep breath, roll your eyes up and across the ceiling and down the other side. Good. Now just roll them up the left side and back down. Just up the left and down slow for me and breathe. Notice what your hands feel like. Notice what the story feels like. Just notice what else is available. I'm going to have you run your eyes down that wall because we've got a pretty good skip. So I'm guessing you might have had a concussion in your history once or twice.
A couple times.
Yeah. So we can see it in your eye pattern there on the left. You've got some gaps. So move real slow up that side, up that left side, real slow. All the way down the left. So pick some things on that left wall to look at as you move down. There you go. So everybody who's watching and listening, you can see there's a real gap in the way his eyes want to roll on the left. And for us, that's usually indicative of a low brain injury. Just one of those things that needs to be
Rachel, you actually worried now having a brain injury.
We all have them, and we just see it. You see there's a little gap in the vision. But for right now, we're not worried about that. We're worried about what does it feel like now to think about your grandparents, your parents, your history.
There's a real lightness, and I'm not just saying this. This is something people obviously you absolutely need to experience. But in that brief period, when I'm doing this now, there's this lightness around that story that doesn't have me feeling the anxiety or attachment to it. It's just something that was, and I don't feel like I'm identified with it. Is the best way of putting it.
It's moved out of your present and into the past a little bit.
That's precisely it. It's no longer in the field of like, well, this is what I do. Yeah. It feels very much that's something that has happened.
Yeah, good job. And that's where it belongs, in the past, because that's where it is, right? That's the truth of it. Right, you got a pen there you can hold on to for just a sec? Anything. What's on your desk? And you have something.
Dude, I have
something that can just occupy both hands. So I'm going to bring it right down to about just below your solar plexus there. And then I'm going to have you move it left and right for me, right way down low, left and right. And just let your eyes track for a minute. All the way down, way down low. Left and right. Just move left and right and breathe for me just for a second. And I just want you to run that story one more time the way it is now, the way it was. Just let yourself feel it. Breathe. And just gently move up the body as you do. So we don't have dead airspace. What we're doing is we're pushing information through the left brain and through the right brain across the corpus callosum, but we're also moving through the feeling body, the kinesthetic body, the logical mind, eyes and ears. What have we seen? What do you know? What have you heard? We are going to end up in that place that Bill talked about, the eyes up position of ideas and inspiration. So move that pen all the way left, all the way right, both hands. But we need both hands, yeah. Breathe for me. So let that story play out. Keep breathing. You're going to end up all the way up over the head, all the way up. All the way up. Chin down for me. Eyes up. It might be a little uncomfortable. We don't move our eyes like this, but we need to.
Yes.
Yeah. So I noticed that you had Dane here on your show a couple times. So let's use access to this question. Keep your eyes up and just ask the question on this subject. What else is possible? It's a great question. Yep. Keep moving left and right. We want to push information. We want the opinion of the left brain and the right brain. We want the opinion of the kinesthetic body. We want the opinion of the logical mind. And we definitely want this opinion, the ideas and inspiration opinion of your nervous system. What else is possible about earning money and spending money? Okay. And when you get just one answer, go ahead and bring it down.
I had two. Can I give you two?
Yeah, get it.
I'm in brackets. It was abundance and flow. The two things that come.
Yeah. Available and possible now, right? From of all things possible.
Rather than constriction and loss.
Yeah. So that is a real mini, super fast session. But that's what we do.
Wow. Because I know you both, I know you have other tools that you use, actual objects and other objects, but
yeah.
Okay, so Bill, I'll put this to you. So just to understand a bit more deeply what's happening there, and Liz, I know you alluded to it. And can I start with this? Is it something similar to the research that we're seeing around psilocybin? So when people are taking psilocybin, I'm not advocating one way and another for modalities. That's fine. But the brain scans of someone is very interesting, where it collapses that barrier between the left and right hemisphere. And when, let's say with PTSD, you hear of people having one session and all this things that was completely ruining their lives, they just can move on from amazingly. Is this process doing the same thing in terms of helping us put these very present memories where they belong behind us?
Yes. Not only does it desensitize, but it connects understanding, and seeing a broader vision. Like, for example, people who have for their entire life thought that, their mother hated them, and they just do the session and let themselves feel all the feelings of their mother hated them, and partway through the session, all of a sudden the discovery of, actually, my mother was always there. I was her favorite. She did love me. What was I thinking? And all of these connections that they couldn't see before, and a whole new reality emerges where there's a whole new relationship that they literally they couldn't see.
So Bill, I'll let you say that, because that's so profound, that we think that something is a certain way because we're only looking at it through that lens. And then when we broaden that lens, we see all the things we were literally not able to see before. And then life completely opens up and can change for us. So that's really profound.
That's it. And this is really a human part of the human condition. We can't think greater than we feel. And if we feel good, that's how the thoughts are going to come to validate whatever in my environment. We use and abuse each other for this. I'll use somebody to validate love, or that I'm not worthy. Whatever it might be, we're using and abusing each other for that purpose. I'm sure that the listeners and yourself can see this in others very easily and clearly.
Easier now that
you're at a party and somebody makes a comment to somebody else, and they're being very nice or whatever it is, and the person takes it as an insult. It's like, how could they? Oh my gosh, you've seen this happen. Did you hear what they, or you may have even been in a situation where somebody comes to you and say, I can't believe they said that to you. And you're like, what?
Yep.
Me and that person are good. Wait, I don't know what you're talking about. We had a great time and we are cool, no problem. But that's a real thing, are literally, we are limited. There's a couple million bits of data coming into us, per second, and we can only handle 30 to 50 bits or whatever it is of data, generalizing here, but there's just such a limited scope of how much information we can take in, and there's part of our brain filters this down. It's called the reticular activating system, or RAS. And it basically, its job is to filter down all of those millions of bits of data, just what we need to stay alive, bring ourselves forward in life. It's very, very limited. And it is predisposed to look for whatever bias, confirmation bias, right? I'm looking for a certain thing and I find it.
What's that? Sorry.
Oh, you probably no. I was just going to say with the reticular activation system, that the one that you hear everyone talk about is when you're buying a car, for example, and you never notice that brand of car or that color of car, and then all of a sudden they're everywhere. Why has everyone got my buddy car? But before you're completely unaware of that, yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how it's startling how that awareness kicks in, and you might take it as just when I've done it, I've just gone, oh, that's just, I've understood it from the scientific point of view. But when you take it from the metaphysical, that's our life. We're looking out into the world and seeing what we want to see.
Well, that was the piece I was going to add in, is that here's where the woo-woo comes in. Here's where the quantum happens. Each one of those stories, like Bill told about the person who said, my mom hates me, that I actually led that session in an event. And the person told me, my mom hates me and she wants me dead. She wants to kill me. 5 minutes later, she kind of like experience like you had, she gasped and said, oh my God, my mom loves me. I'm her favorite. Right? So what happens next? By the time she gets back to her seat, let's say it's 15 minutes later, there's a text from her mom. Oh, I love you. You're an amazing human. I just thought of you. I love you so much. You're great. Never before did that text come in. I mean, we've had several of these that happen. I mean, it happens every time, but this quantum piece where somewhere that link gets broken of we hate each other to we love each other in the ether, in the quantum. Whenever you're connected to someone via your nervous system, which is an electromagnetic, hormonal, and chemical connection, it doesn't matter where they are in the world. When you change that connection, they feel it. And then when that person gets home, that mother is a completely different human. It's like somebody reinvented her. And we hear again and again, well, how did they change? Well, they didn't. You just see them for what they actually are and actually could be. And your bias was they're this way, when really what else is possible? That last question I ask you is a range so vast, you couldn't even imagine it. So people who do Cognomovement.
Yeah, so I got mine's over, she's over. Yeah.
Literally shift reality. So that little tiny session we did with you, what might happen next? You'll be shocked, because the reality that will exist for you now is not a reality that existed for you an hour ago, but it does, and more and more and more. So timeline shifting, quantum jumping, manifesting happens through changing the signal that your nervous system is projecting onto your world. And it is literally projecting it onto your world. The minute that neural pattern collapses and everything else opens, the projection is completely different. And what you can receive and project changes dramatically. So reality changes. And it's super, super exciting when you know how to make that shift pretty quickly.
The thing that comes to mind when you're saying that very much to me is freedom. You're not only allowing yourself the freedom of something new to be born, you're also allowing that other person with our relationships. You're allowing them the freedom to express themselves. And it reminds me very much of when I've been in long-term relationships, and you become very patented with the way you see that other person, because you've lived together, you assume things about them off the way they are with you. And then it's incredible when you'll see them randomly out somewhere with other people, and they're not someone you even recognize.
No.
And you're like, my God, like it's so interesting, all the patterns we have with different people and how we are creating these narratives around others. Sorry. Yeah, please.
We hold each other in our orbit, our very unique orbit. And who someone looks like to us is not who they look like to someone else, because they're from our perspective in our orbit. So I like to use this gesture of literally unhooking them from our orbit. And you allow yourself in a Cognomovement session to feel how you feel, just like cravings. You can hate them as much as you hate them, think they're the worst person on the planet, blame them as much as you do. And we really encourage you to do that, so your system sees the reality of it. But in doing that and doing the particular moves that we do, you're rewriting that code and you're letting your system see the truth, and you're actually regulating your limbic system, your nervous system around that pattern. So it no longer is activated by fight or flight around that.
Mm.
And in doing that, this whole story collapses. That projection of what you thought they were opens, and then you let them out of that orbit. And miraculously, they change, maybe 180 degrees. The reality around them changes completely. And it's exactly like you're saying, to you, they become a different person completely.
When I reflect on particularly my upbringing with my parents, and I look, I had a strained relationship with my father, and I all these years I held resentment for him, thinking, you behave like this, you were over disciplinarian, and it's when I understood that was done from his perspective, it didn't land that way, but his mind, he was giving love. That's the way he received love as a child. He's doing his absolute best, and I think that most human beings are just operating from doing their best with what their awareness has. And it's such a freedom to come from that position of, and it doesn't mean you allow people to do bad things to you. I'm obviously not talking about that. But when you come from the freedom of allowing people at least that grace to begin with, yeah, when I did that with my father, for example, it changed. It doesn't mean we don't still trigger each other at certain points in some ways, but that old narrative had completely collapsed. And then, as you were saying, he changed completely because I had changed completely. And I think a very big thing of this, everyone knows when you're holding judgment against them, you can feel it. So when you actually legitimately drop that judgment, they're free to step into some other way of being with you. It's crazy. It's beautiful and crazy to think that. Yeah. So this leads me very nicely into a question about what I somewhat started with in terms of, so you might see patterns in your lives, things keep happening. What are the traits that you see in people who come to you? Is it a case, my understanding would be that you're moving from a victim mentality of the world is doing this to me, this is happening to me, poor me, to a more empowered version of there is something happening here that I have the power to change. Is that the first step for people that you see, like me, coming and saying, look, I don't know this is happening, but like, what's the problem? Bill? So how do you just need to sell it? Oh no, I'm just doing 1, 2, 1, 2 because I'm keeping a secret.
That is a really good question. Really good question. And that is the level of consciousness that most of us start with is, hey, the world's doing this to me. All these people are out there being jerks or whatever, or my dad, he did this to me, or my mom, or whatever. But what Liz was talking about was holding somebody in your orbit and holding them within a fixed position within your orbit. This is a very real phenomenon. And like we had just talked about, when we realize that it is our judgments and our feelings about that person and our perception of them that's keeping them fixed there, it's empowering. All of a sudden you become incredibly empowered. And when you realize this, it gives you a motivation to let go of your judgments and your assumptions. And when you let go of your judgments and assumptions, you elevate yourself from something called the third dimension, where it is governed by reactions, guilt, grief, shame, humiliation, anger, fear, resentment. And in this lower levels of feelings, you're locked into certain rules. There's laws, rules, and regulations for this third dimension. And some of those have to do with a very difficult life. Things happen through a force of will. You only really experience conditional love. Everything's a trade. Romantic love, that is a trade you very much. It is the nature of romantic love is conditional, right? I love you as long as something.
All these things. Yeah.
And the benefit of letting go, allowing the person to just be, and letting go of our judgments and assumptions, all of a sudden it buoys you up into this other, some people call it the fourth dimension, but basically what it is there's less and less conditions on your love to ultimately becoming unconditional. Synchronicities and coincidences become commonplace. You start to allow people to be, do, and say as they wish without, allowing them to hurt you. But true love starts to emerge and you become grateful and you're filled with a better feeling of acceptance and optimism and joy. But this phenomenon, of locking somebody in is very much something that we can control by causing the release. The work that we do, if if you're in a position where I can't help it, this person's an a-hole. I can never forgive them or let them go or whatever. I'm seeing the truth. They're a jerk. Well, as you do these exercises, what'll happen is neurologically the reaction, right? The subconscious is causing this reaction. It lets go. It gets overwhelmed. We overwhelm the nervous system and the brain with stimulation, and it can't hold on anymore. Poof, it basically goes away. And with that, you find yourself free. You can imagine what would it be like, back in the day, when you felt a certain way about your father, if you could snap your fingers and you were free. No, I don't feel anything about that. It would really be awesome, So that is a very very real possibility. There's other things about this that have been talked about for millennia, and two of our favorites are Ram Dass and Saint Francis of Assisi. They have something in common, and Saint Ram Dass, the way he said it, God rest his soul, is that he said, when we lose our judgments of another, their neurotic behavior calms down. They lose their fear of us. Now, how does this relate to Saint Francis of Assisi? Saint Francis, same thing. He basically lost his judgment of everything, and the animals lost their fear of him. Land on his shoulder. There's huge benefits of losing all of your negative judgments, and I know what people are thinking right now. They're like, I don't want to lose my judgments. Well, it's different than your discernment. Your judgment's a negative feeling. You can still discern, this guy over here has some bad intentions. I see he's got a gun, and no, thank you. Move away, whatever. But my point is that the benefits are start with the mundane, better relationship, all the way to the mystical of Saint Francis.
Interesting that you mentioned that. When people hear that, I think there's a lot of things when you look at Eastern mysticism too, where they're talking about removing judgment, and people think, oh no, I'm going to lose who I am. This sense of because that contrast of I like this and I don't like that, I like wearing this, I don't like wearing that, forms his identity, as opposed to, no, you can obviously still have discernment around what you like to eat, how you like to dress, all of the things that you think culminate you. But I'm just thinking of all that lost time of not being in a place of more joy and love. And actually, I mean, what's that greatest regret people have? That they didn't tell people they loved them while they were here. They didn't allow that true emotion because they've got all this resentment and judgments and fear and I was wrong, victim mentality, as opposed to, God damn it, I just love you. Like that's actually the core feeling of that I have toward people in my life. And think of just the efficiency of living when you're living from that place, as opposed to I think of it as just this huge drag that you're waking up with every morning if you're walking around with that resentment or hate or whatever it is that's still in your field of awareness. It's just it's like driving with your doors open. Not to use another driving analogy, but it's literally that.
And I think the core of your question, if I understood it, I know it was a few minutes ago, was, do people find that it's always them, that do they become empowered because they know it's them and they can change themselves? And the answer is, yeah. And also that this level of work, this level of consciousness, people who come to this work happen to be those people who are ready to be like, it's only me every time. It's me. Like Taylor Swift. Hey, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. And with that awareness, like you started the interview, that you have this awareness about yourself, with that awareness, like, oh crap, I got this issue. Oh yeah, that's me. I can change it, which becomes all powerful. You do realize, all right, playing the victim again. All right, now I know I can change this. And when I change me, the whole world changes around me. So you do have to be in a place where you're ready to be like, all right, it's me. And then I do my work. I gotta suffer around it for a few minutes. And each one of us who does this work, some days we choose to be real salty, real cranky. We choose to have a bad day. We have a book that's called Suffering is Optional, because in our humanity, it's kind of fun for us to do that. We like the drama. But then there comes a moment where you're like, all right, let's get back to something resourceful. You take out your cogno ball. You do 5, 10, 20 minutes of a little session. Let yourself feel as uncomfortable as you do. And then at the end of that field of vision opens, literally. Your vision opens, your brain opens, your consciousness soars. And now everything else is available. Everything else is possible. So there really is a big reward to recognizing it's likely you. That's the problem. And in that recognizing, you become powerful because you literally get to change the universe.
I very conscious of both your times, and can I speak to you? You would be open to coming back at some later date next year, because I've just there's so many. Oh, you can. What's your beagle's name?
This is
people listening. This is Ollie's getting Ollie's doing some Cognomovement right now of his own. You just heard his name inside. I'd be, but yeah, there's so many things. Yes, Ollie, she's coming shortly. There's so many things I'd love to speak with you again in the future about. But just to finish, where would you like people to go to find you, number one? And is there anything you'd like, any closing remarks? Is there anything you're both particularly excited about that you're working on now? So yeah, firstly, where would you like people to find you at? And then, yeah, find
you can come to cognomovement.com. And there you'll find 2 free downloadable books, one called The Tiny Book of Big Manifesting, and the other called Suffering is Optional. And then if a person really wanted a little bit more, they could go to cognomovement.com/Gaia, GAIA, for a really, really great class on the levels of awareness. It's something that Bill is teaching that's really great, and it helps people understand this piece of, when my nervous system changes, how does the universe change around me? It's about those levels of consciousness and what happens when you move into each one. So that's where people can go for something free. We also have Cognomovement on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. If you go to YouTube, there's just hours and hours and hours of
you have a lot
of video. But if someone knows they want to get started right now, cognomovement.com, click on the Start Here button. that'll take you to our Essentials program. And you can literally get started immediately making these changes in your body, really.
Thank you. I'll put all of that obviously in the show notes for people. So it's all right. Don't fret about remembering. And Bill, is anything you'd like to finish with before?
Oh my gosh. Thank you for the opportunity. It was a joy to be with you, and thank you for letting Liz work with you today and do that. That is a joy for us to do. I just say, everybody out there, Cognomovement, basically any part of your life that would be impacted by your brain is something we can help with. So if you have a part of your life that is not optimal, come on down, and all the videos that Liz talked about, plus you can start on the Essentials program and start getting the changes.
Thank you both so much. All I'm thinking is this needs to be in schools. It's crazy that we now have the tools to dramatically reshape humanity in a much more loving space. And this is foundational, absolutely foundational to understand more about why we do the things we do. So I just can't thank you enough for the systems you've developed and the work that you're doing. I'm about to book it to get my brain scanned because I'm worried about my acquired brain injuries from my teenage years. Thanks, Liz. You're the first person who's ever picked that up. Maybe it's self-evident in the way I talk. You must be brain damaged.
No, it's not that. It's literally an iPod.
No, I'm kidding. But it's funny that you mentioned that because I did have a couple of, I probably had 3 or 4 concussions through my life. So that's it. You're the first person who's ever actually just said by doing that was obvious. I'm sure people close to me will say it's obvious, but.
Well, the interesting thing is there's a thing called a reconnection set. You have to work with a practitioner to do it, but that can be reconnected. And it doesn't matter how old the concussion is. It's just a matter of addressing the system, recognizing where the gap is or the glitch, and reconnecting it with the rest of the system. Because when you have when your head gets injured, it's like a bruise. But you can't see it.
Yep.
And a bruise you protect. You don't hit it again, you protect it. But when it's your brain still has to be funneling information through that area. Well, it can't because it's injured. So it reroutes around that area. And sometimes it just never reroutes back. So now you have a limitation in the communication in that part of your brain. And it just so happens that it's very visible in the way your eyes move. But it's also quite easy to reconnect that. And when it does, it reconnects your balance, your proprioception, your depth perception, your ability to see in the peripheral vision. It changes the way your brain and body work, and it really opens up your life. Most people have no idea how limiting that can be until it's open. And then they're like, oh my God, I've been missing this whole part. So, yeah.
Yeah. It can be just as simple as doing that. Somebody that has problems like anger, like I had no idea why I'm just generally surly. Well, as soon as that gets, the whole movement and the depth perception all gets corrected, boom, anger just goes away. We've had people that had issues like with road rage, couldn't drive for more than 20 minutes because of road rage,
Right.
and they did the sessions, and it was like the next week the guy said, hey, how was your week? Well, it was good. It was kind of weird. I got flipped off 2 separate times by other drivers, and I thought to myself, they must be having a hard day. It's just like, well, that is 100% the opposite of what they were doing for their whole life. So it's literally, you just connect up the brain and things, perception, like that's a perception. Oh, a different perception. Oh, they must be having a hard day. It's not personal.
That's my next Google stop. I'm gonna have to, that's
Well, when we're done with the interview, I'll give you an exercise and we'll get you started on getting that back opened up.
awesome. Thank you. Both of you again, thank you for your time. I really, really look forward to speaking with you both again. And everyone for listening, everything will be in the show notes.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate your time, and it was great getting to talk to you. And we are appreciative of your audience for listening.